Hello everyone, I have a special treat for you today. As you can see, I'm standing here in front of my boxing bag and I want to talk to everybody about confidence. In my opinion, confidence is not something instilled in us at birth. I believe confidence is learned. A little history about my area and about where I come from. My grandfather was one of 8 children. He grew up in this area. It's a small town and he had a passion for boxing. He dreamt of being a boxer, but unfortunately his dreams did not come true. Instead, his father passed away at a very young age when he was only 40 years old of a sudden cardiac arrest. My grandfather stayed home to attend the family farm and help his mother. His siblings went on, they went to various colleges or they moved out of state and they started their own lives and families. But my grandfather, he stayed behind to man the farm trucks, to deliver the farm fresh vegetables to stores. He traveled across state lines to deliver his vegetables and produce to sell to other markets. And therefore, he did not have a chance to pursue his dreams. As long as I can remember growing up with my grandparents, they had a farm and they had a barn. And in that barn, he had a bag. So let's talk about confidence. Let's talk about what this bag and confidence have in common and how you can start building your confidence skills today. I was a shy kid. I grew up, little red-faced girl. Kids picked on me relentlessly. My grandmother liked to make me look like Shirley Temple. When I went to school, I had tight little curls in my head. In middle school, I had a bully. This bully notoriously picked on other little kids and no one intervened. When I went to middle school, we're talking years ago, and I'm talking about a time before all these anti-bullying campaigns, because I don't want somebody to think, well, there's anti-bullying in school. Right, this was pre that. When I was in school, there were a lot of bullies, but this one particular girl was dead set on taking me down. She had already beat up a teacher. She put a pregnant woman in the hospital. She was an outlaw from the police, and we're talking about middle school age. This was not a good person. And as far as I know, today she sits in prison. So this was a very violent youngster. And because the school wouldn't intervene, back then, they told you to settle your differences in the parking lot. My grandfather taught me how to fight. You know the old saying, if you teach a man to fish, he eats for life. My grandfather thought if he taught me how to defend myself, I'd be safe for life. So today I'm going to pass down to you what my grandfather taught me. Confidence doesn't come naturally to me. I had to learn it. I had to fight for it. When I was in school, I didn't have anybody fighting for me at the school. Principal turned their head. Teachers turned their head. In fact, the teachers were part of the problem back then. I knew a kid that the teacher stuck in a cardboard box every day. That's going back to my time in school. Today, the school systems have anti-bullying, they have police presence, they have metal detectors. There was none of that when I went to school. I learned the fight-flight response at a very young age, and I've never been a flighter. I'm not teaching anyone violence. That's a different subject altogether. I'm teaching how to learn confidence. I'm not in this to teach you how to fight. I'm in this to teach you how to respect yourself and stand up for yourself. Just to demonstrate, this isn't sports quality gauze or anything like that. When I was growing up, like I said, we had a bag in the barn, and this is how it all started. My grandfather learned that there were some mean kids in school. At one time, he was town sheriff. He didn't want me backing down to anything or anyone. especially when you're in the right. Keep doing good. Therefore, he took me out in that barn. I didn't have gloves. He had his gloves, but they were too big for my little hands. So he told me to wrap my hands in gauze. You can really train with any kind of gauze. This is the self-stick kind. So I'm just going to wrap my knuckles. So as you can see, I've got my knuckles wrapped. And I'm going to show you exactly what my grandfather showed me. He took me out in that barn with my little hands wrapped, and he showed me the bag. And he said, go up to the bag and hit it. My shy little self walked up to that big, massive bag, probably as big as I was. And I hit that bag. And I was afraid of it. And I was afraid to hit it. I was afraid of getting hurt. I was afraid of it swinging back and hitting me. And he said, hit it again. So I went up to that bag and I hit it again. He said, why are you afraid of it? It's a bag. It's not going to jump at you. I didn't know why I was afraid of it, but I didn't have confidence. I didn't have the confidence because I had never hit the bag before. So I walked up to that bag again. Tapped that bag. He said, what are you doing? I want you to hit the bag. I was afraid. I said, okay, you mean like this? He's like, what if I put a bullseye on it? Because I was really good at archery. And he had a hay bale that he painted a red dot in the middle of. And I could hit it with the arrow every single time. He said, what if I put an archery dot on that? Can you hit it then? So I got a visual. And I said, oh, good point. Okay. And then he started teaching me the right way to box. He told me, you know, to keep your arms, always cover your face, keep your arms up, step with your right foot, and hit that bag. Step with your left foot and hit that bag. Now, I'm not a professional boxer, obviously. I'm just a kid who learned how to hit a bag. If I'm not doing it the sportsman way or the correct way, I'm not here to show you that. I'm not a professional boxer. I'm showing you how to gain confidence. After I did that a few times, he said, good, I'm going to go in the house now. You stay out here and hit the bag for the next hour. And he got a little stopwatch and he timed me. And that's exactly what I did. I stayed out in that barn, and just like he said, I hit the bag. And this is how I started. Just like that. Right arm, left arm. And that's it. That's all I did. First day. That's what I did. Day 2 came. I came home after school, and I was excited to hit the bag. He said, not today. Today, you're going to do something else. And he took out an old jump rope that once belonged to him as a kid. And if my memory serves correctly, it was literally a rope. There were no handles on it. It was an old rope. Boxing trainers used to use jump ropes to train boxers. Now they have all kinds of equipment and machines. They have gyms. I don't think people really train with the rope anymore. But this is how I learned. I'm over 50 years old. Some things you just don't forget how to do. It's like riding a bike or playing the piano. He would have me do this after school for 1 hour. Now, it's quite different when you're in middle school versus when you're over 50. If you've never jumped a rope, start slow. Especially when you get to my age, it taxes your ankles, your knees, your joints, but it's still one heck of a workout. There are some people who can't jump rope. It's too much coordination for them. So if you can learn how to jump rope, master it. Let's talk about the bag again. So now, at this point, my grandfather liked my progress on the bag. He saw I could jump rope. I was doing it each for an hour a day, alternating. Jump rope, bag, jump rope, bag. And I was a kid. Back then, all kids went outside and played. Nobody had an iPad. I didn't even have a computer. So everybody was outside. That was what kids did back then. My grandfather knew the lesson he was teaching me was invaluable. It wasn't about the bag. It wasn't about me hitting the bag. It wasn't about me jumping rope. It wasn't about helping me lose weight or anything like that. I didn't have a weight problem when I was in middle school. My grandfather knew I didn't have any confidence. I had low self-esteem. I was that bullied little girl. I was that shy little girl. I walked into a room and my face turned beet red. Kids laughed at me. They laughed about my clothing. I went to a little recreation center and the kids laughed because my leotard didn't match my stockings. He saw that in me. He knew he had to have a way to pull that out of me and to build up my strength from within. I have my own pink gloves now. I didn't have these as a kid. I had hand wraps. I trained on a bag with hand wraps. I probably trained anywhere from 6 months to a year before one day I was sitting in the cafeteria at school and I was sitting with my cousin. My cousin and I had just got that tray of pizza. Remember school pizza back then? It was disgusting, but we loved it. Sometimes if you were in the upper class, they'd give you seconds at the end of the shift. I'm sitting there with my cousin and this girl, that mean girl I told you all about. I didn't see it coming. I never saw it coming. I was taught, cover my face. I was taught, hit the bag. Cover my face, hit the bag. I wasn't taught, keep an eye out behind you. Nobody knew I was hitting the bag in the barn. Not one student in that whole school knew that. I kept that to myself. I kept it to myself because it was my little secret. It was my little confidence class. And I didn't want anybody knowing it because I didn't want it to become a weak point so they could pick on me about that as well. I didn't know if I'd ever use it any day. I didn't know if it would be like real self-defense. I just knew it was my thing, my secret, and nobody else had to know. This girl walked down a row of tables coming right at me. She was telling all the other kids to be quiet because they saw her coming and I didn't. My cousin was sitting to the left of me. I was sitting at the end of the cafeteria bench at the table to his right, and there was nobody beside me, and she took her perfect shot. She came at me and wham! She shoved me as hard as she could. My little body went flying right off that bench and landed on the ground. I scooted. I had jeans on, good thing. And I was in such shock, but I didn't have time to be in shock. I didn't have time for my face to turn red. I didn't have time to think about my little self-esteem or how embarrassed I was. I didn't have time to listen to all the kids laughing at me while I'm sitting in the ground wondering what the heck just happened. Oh, heck no. I got up. I got my little self up off the ground. I stood up and she's standing over me because she was taller than me. And she was looking at me, smirking. And in 1 second, I didn't have to think. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to run away, red-faced, embarrassed. I took my little fist, and it wasn't even wrapped. Pow! I knocked that girl right across the cafeteria floor, unconscious. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and incite violence, and I'm not telling you that's okay. I want to make that clear. I'm not telling anybody go whip the crap out of somebody and knock them out unconscious. I could have really hurt that girl. But why I'm telling you this is because hitting that bag every day gave me the confidence to protect myself. And let me tell you something, that little jerk never bothered me or anyone else again. If you have a bully, if your children have bullies, I'm not telling you it's okay to glove up and learn how to fight so that you can go beat somebody down. That's never the answer. I lived in a different time. Today, I teach my own children how to fight so they can defend themselves. Remember that quote at the beginning? You teach a man to fish, he eats for life. You teach somebody confidence, they can protect themselves for life. And that's really all it's about. There are many kinds of people in this world. There's always going to be somebody who provokes somebody into violence. There's always going to be somebody who's trying to knock you down. There's always going to be somebody who's aggressive or mean. And there's always going to be somebody who's kind. The biggest takeaway I hope you get from this video is that no matter what it is, whether it's a boxing bag hanging on a tree in your backyard, whether it's joining a gym and getting out of your comfort zone, whatever the case may be, that you do to build confidence within yourself. The point is, you don't have to be afraid anymore. By having that confidence instilled within, there's no more fear. Now, if you're approached by a bear, I don't know what to do in that situation. I've never had that situation. But in general, it builds your confidence. My daughter, she had good confidence in school, but when she graduated high school, she was a little on the shy side. She was in the COVID era, where the kids had to do a lot of online learning. Something happened with those kids, but I brought her to the gym with me. We go to Planet Fitness. And even though some people don't like Planet Fitness, I love my gym. It's perfect for what I need. I'm not a bodybuilder or a weight trainer. So Planet Fitness does it for me, and it's pretty inexpensive. I took her there, and by going there with me, she gained confidence. So whatever it is, whether it's a boxing bag or a gym membership or whatever it is that helps you, that's the point of this video. Get out of your comfort zone. Do something that makes you less afraid. Aside from the training my grandfather showed me, aside from going to the gym and, ramping up your self-esteem and all that, you also have to look at it like, what is one motivator? What gives you motivation when you face fear? There's something you're afraid of. Whatever your fear is, like, say, going to the gym. Let's use that as an example. If you're afraid to go to the gym, but you really want to go to the gym, think of it like that. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here for me. When I first started going to the gym, it was for health reasons. It wasn't because I lacked confidence or I was afraid. I started going to the gym for my health. And that's how I looked at it. Because I'm not good in crowds. I'm an introvert. I don't like going into crowds. And that gym can get crowded at times. And I was really scared walking in that day. And I had nobody with me. And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I doing? And I walked in there and I remember thinking to myself, I'm not here to make friends. This is for me. And that also builds your confidence. You take whatever situation you have going on, whether it's your health or your weight, or you don't know how to fight and you're afraid, or whatever the case may be. And that's what you say to yourself. I'm doing this for me because I'm not here to make friends. This is for me. This is to help me grow from the inside out. A short time ago, I was at a grocery store in town. And as I walked through the parking lot, I saw a man in a domestic situation with his spouse. I was the only one that stopped to help the spouse. Everybody else came out the store with the little carts and walked on by. One guy filmed it, one guy laughed, but nobody stopped to help that woman. I stopped. I would have never done that had I not had this training in my background. But I stopped and I helped that woman. Instead, the man turned his aggression towards me. Best moment of my life. I turn around and there's a cop standing right there. And the cop saw the whole thing and oops, cuff time. So you never know what situation you might get into. And you can't blame the other people for not stopping. Sometimes you can see why nobody else helped. There are a lot of situations where people don't want to get involved, and sometimes it's not okay. Like if somebody's down in the street and they're laying in the street because they had a heart attack, you don't want to be standing there with your cell phone filming that. You want to help the person. Call 911. But I can see sometimes why people don't want to get involved, especially when there's a situation that involves violence. I'm not going to get into a violent street fight, for crying out loud. So there are situations that, you want to be safe and you want to stay away from and just call 911. But this will help you create that confidence that you think your life is missing. And it will help you in all situations in life. It will help you stand up to bullies at work. It will help you stand up to bullies at school. It will help you stand up to somebody in line at the grocery store who just tried to take the grapes out of your cart. Or somebody at the thrift store who just tried to take your used blouse out of your cart, because that's happened to me. So, I hope this video helps you. If you don't have a boxing bag, like I said, that's okay too. Whatever you think will work to help instill confidence within yourself. Maybe it's walking around the block. Maybe it's walking around a park. Maybe it's going hiking. Maybe it's going to a gym. Whatever it takes. Please leave me a comment below if you want to share what you do to help build up your confidence. Thank you so much. Take care.